Excellencies, friends, I begin by thanking UNHCR for its tireless efforts to protect and assist refugees and displaced persons. UNHCR's ongoing work now spans 130 countries. That work is critical to supporting displaced and host communities alike, while generating solutions that can resolve the issues of displacement and statelessness. Despite increasingly challenging circumstances wrought by the pandemic. At this critical time, the global community has a moral obligation to ensure that UNHCR can continue aiding the most vulnerable. Excellencies, three main threats pose danger to the safety and well-being of refugees in the coming year: conflict, climate change, and the COVID-19 pandemic. First, ongoing and emerging conflicts have now forced 84 million people to flee their homes, including women and children. Many among them seek asylum and are turned away, leaving them without a home or a national identity and often in abject conditions. As conflicts rage, fewer than 1 million internally displaced people and only 126,700 refugees were able to return home in the first half of 2021. Second, the consequences of climate change are now becoming apparent. While we have been warned of the humanitarian consequences of climate change for years, we must now bear witness to those consequences. Millions are forced from their homes every year by weather-related disasters. A full 90% of refugees under UNHCR's mandate and 70% of people internally displaced by conflict are from countries among the most vulnerable to climate change. A lasting solution to refugee crisis and displacements must incorporate climate action. My third point, Excellencies, is that COVID-19 has compounded all our existing challenges, including conflict, poverty, and food security. And this so especially in developing countries. In fact, COVID-19 tops the list of UNHCR's most underfunded crises in 2021. To put it in context, UNHCR's pandemic response has received just a third of the funds needed for this year, threatening the health and well-being of forcibly displaced people globally. The pandemic has hurt forcibly displaced and stateless people in ways that reach far, far beyond the risk posed by the virus itself. Lockdowns and border restrictions introduced by countries in response to the pandemic also excluded and endangered people attempting to cross borders to reach safety. At the same time, the inequitable access to vaccines of many refugee hosting states risks leaving forcibly displaced and stateless people out in the cold. Among other interventions, cash assistance is critical to meet their basic needs. The lack of sufficient funding to meet their requirements would significantly compromise the livelihoods and well-being of the most vulnerable among them. There is an onus to act. We need to resolve the contributing factors to displacement. We need to show compassion to refugees. We need to support the UNHCR financially and to assist their ongoing I Belong campaign to eradicate statelessness by 2024. Let us pledge to do exactly that. Let us step up and ensure that refugees and displaced persons the world over can still hope for a better tomorrow, where they live lives of dignity with a home and a national identity. Thank you.